We heard from Coach Prime for the first time in a long time by Coach Prime standards yesterday as he spoke at Big 12 Media Day. And to help us break it down and interpret what exactly Coach Prime had to say, let's bring in our guy, Brian Howell, the Colorado Buffaloes beat reporter for Buff Zone and the Boulder Daily Camera. Be sure to check him out on X at Brian Howell 33. Brian, my man, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. And let's get the health stuff out of the way here real quick. I know that Coach Prime, essentially said that he's not going to expand on that very much, but we did hear some reports that were coming out, some news about some stuff that he's dealing with behind the scenes. Where is Coach Prime at as a person, and where is he at as a leader with this team now, with the Buffs having a football game on the schedule next month?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. Yesterday he looked like his normal self. He sounded like his normal self, and by all indications, he's ready to get back to work. And we don't know exactly what he's been dealing with, but clearly it's something that has kept him away from Boulder and really just kind of kept him at his estate in Canton, Texas, for a couple months now. And so he looked better yesterday, and hopefully he's feeling well and ready to get back to it because the Buffs start preseason camp. They report 17 days from now, so all indications are he'll be there.
Hey, Brian, is there a chance he's just, like I said, he's put all the work in to build the brand over the last couple years, and just kind of right now is his chance to not have to do every talk show and every interview, and it's a chance for him to kind of just get right, and as, he's looking to build a team like everybody else in college football has to build, that his son is not on, and a phenom like Trav is not on. Yeah,
and this is also the time, if you're going to go through some medical stuff, this is the time to do it as a head coach because, summer is that time that you don't need to be around as much. It's really the strength staff that leads the team through all the offseason workouts, and, the recruiting staff does so much of that work these days. And so I think that in a lot of ways he doesn't have to be there, but there's also, to your point, he can kind of run this thing like a normal coach, and he doesn't have to worry about his sons. And he has said it before that he's actually happy now because he can just be one thing, and that's coach, and not have to be father as well to a couple of the players. So I think maybe there's some of that as well.
Brian Howell, our guest. Make sure to check out his work at Buff Zone as well as the Boulder Daily Camera. Does a great job chronicling everything in and around the Colorado Buffaloes. So there was a couple of quotes yesterday, a couple of takes from Deion that I think we can kind of dive into here a little bit. The first one I want to start with, though, how about him kind of coming out yesterday and saying, yes, Travis and Shedeur were great players, but he thinks the team is actually in a better place. He said, quote, nobody can fill those shoes. They were great players. We have a better team, end quote. What do you make of those comments from Coach Prime? It's hard, big shoes to fill with Travis and Shedeur, but also for the listeners out there, what is reason to get excited about? Like, what other additions, maybe some names that people aren't as familiar with, that would, in theory, make the Buffs a better team without Travis and Shedeur?
Yeah, he kind of said that same message in the spring as well, and I think a lot of that is Coach Prime confidence, which is higher than the confidence of any other human I've ever met. So I think there's part of it is his confidence, but they do have good players, and they lost a lot of talent. I need to see it before I believe they're going to be a better team without those two guys, but they have some quality players. Jordan Seaton is on track to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft in 2027 if he wants to leave. DJ McKinney is a really good cornerback. They got their receivers, they lost 4 guys that are in the NFL now, but the receivers they have now are absolutely loaded. They've got a ton of talent at receiver. Caden Salter was the Conference USA Player of the Year at quarterback 2 years ago at Liberty, and Juju Lewis was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school this year. So they do have plenty of talent. There's a lot of guys to get excited about. They're just not the big brand names of Shedeur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, and Travis Hunter.
Brian, you mentioned the 2 quarterbacks. We used the analogy a little bit yesterday of like an NFL team who has the Flacco veteran, and you kind of roll with him as far as he could kind of take you until it doesn't go the way you would have liked or till the wheels come off. Then you go with like the young guy or the rookie, essentially in this kind of analogy. Do you think that's what's going to happen this season?
Yeah, I think so. I sort of it's kind of downplaying Caden Salter because he's a better player than this. But to me, Caden Salter is kind of that bridge quarterback from Shedeur Sanders to maybe a Julian Lewis at some point. So he's a 1-year guy because he's only got 1 year of eligibility left. And, I think that he's that guy that is going to kind of keep them afloat at quarterback, but also he's going to allow Julian Lewis to have some time to really develop as a college player. And some people forget that he graduated a year and a half early from high school. I mean, he's supposed to be a senior in high school this upcoming season, but he reclassified and graduated a year and a half early. So he's still very young. He doesn't turn 18 until, I think, week 4 of the season. So I think Caden Salter is a great bridge quarterback for this team.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I'm personally high on Caden Salter. And for the listener out there that maybe isn't as familiar with his game, a lot different of a player than Shedeur Sanders. Caden Salter profiles more as a true dual threat quarterback, so you're going to obviously have him dropping back to pass, but also a guy that can really make it happen with his legs.
Yeah, he ran for over 1,000 yards a couple years ago at Liberty, and also threw for almost 3,000 yards and 32 touchdowns. So he is that dual threat. We asked him yesterday, how similar is this offense that you're running now to what you had at Liberty? And he said, really not at all. And he said how we were run first at Liberty, and it's really pass first at Colorado. But I still don't think Shermer's going to use Salter the way he used Shedeur. I think that we're going to see a lot more runs, not only from the running backs, but also from the quarterback. And I would not be surprised if Caden Salter is the leading rusher on this team this year, as well as obviously the leading passer. But I think that offense is going to run quite a bit through him, and it will look different.
Hey, Brian, it's Sports Talk Radio, so you have to say something crazy every now and then.
Oh, my gosh.
If the Buffs are 4-0, is Salter a Heisman dark horse?
Yeah, I think so because
Let's go.
Because he's on Coach Prime's team. I think that if they come out like that, I mean, if you think about it, you look at the schedule, they would have beaten the Georgia Tech team that, is highly regarded. Not highly regarded. They're not top 25.
They're tough,
I mean,
though.
Some people think they're an ACC sleeper. You would have beaten Houston in the conference opener, and Wyoming. You'd have some good wins under your belt. So I think that because he's Coach Prime's quarterback, if he's 4-0 and he's got big numbers, yeah, he would be.
Got about 30 seconds here left. Before we cut you loose again, Brian Howell, our guest, really appreciate the time. Give me a little gut check on CU in the Big 12, because I remember last year, I believe it was Oklahoma State was the preseason favorite to win the conference, and we all know how that went. Where does CU stack up against the rest of the teams in the conference?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's so hard to project in the portal era because so many teams are vastly different from what they were a year ago, and I think that's what we saw last year with the projections. And I think. The Big 12 did not do a preseason poll because they thought it hurt Arizona State last year. But as I look at some of the preview magazines and as I've looked at a lot of these teams, I think a lot of people are viewing CU around that 10th to 12th range. I think that's probably a little bit low, but I still think they're a middle-of-the-pack type of team. I don't think they're going to be a contender for the conference title.
We shall see. Football is on the mind, and of course, Brian Howell is your go-to for all things CU Buffs. Be sure to check him out online on social media as well. Brian, my friend, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. We'll do it again soon, and good luck with the season coming up.
Thanks, guys.